You are my friends. Our church is meant to be a church of friends. We're meant to know each other. We're meant to have relationships, friendships. Over the last few weeks, we've been reading through the Acts of the Apostles, and we get another little instalment today. And it is because of this reading that we have as our first reading, that the church does a number of things when they appoint a bishop, and sometimes when they appoint priests. What you had was that you had Paul and Barnabas had gone to a number of different places. There was disputes going on amongst some of the Christian community, as we've heard, in relation to circumcision and other things. And there are some people who were rejecting Paul, rejecting Barnabas. They were saying, I'm for Cephas, I'm not for Paul. And it was creating this tension. That, Paul's my best friend, or Paul's not my friend, and so on. And I think together this first reading and the gospel go hand in hand, that we're called to be friends. So after we had the Council of Jerusalem, what we have is that we have Paul is sent back to the community, but Paul is sent with a letter from the council. And there's a letter from the council explaining what the council had said and endorsing Paul and his leadership. But they don't just send a letter. They actually send a representative of the council from Jerusalem to go with Paul and Barnabas to Antioch, to sort of give authenticity to the appointment of Paul to lead this community. And this happens when we have a bishop that's appointed. A person just can't claim to be a bishop. They need a letter of appointment. It's called a papal bull. It's a letter that the Pope will sign to say that this specific person is becoming the bishop of a diocese. And that will then be sent to the bishop, or the person who's to become a bishop. And when he comes into the new cathedral, he'll then present this letter to say, I have the letter of authenticity from the Pope. But the Pope doesn't just send a letter, he also sends a representative. Normally a nuncio, an archbishop who represents the Pope in a particular country, or maybe a cardinal, who will then come to that particular diocese as the representative of the Pope to give authenticity to the role of the bishop or the new bishop in that place. This is a tradition that goes right back to this first reading, and this still happens even today. When a new bishop's appointed, he gets a letter from the Pope, and then the Pope will send a representative to the specific diocese to give authenticity to the appointment, to say, this guy is a friend of mine, and he should be a friend of yours as well. Similar thing happens when a person's appointed as parish priest. Many of you were here when I was appointed as the parish priest here. There was a letter of appointment that came, but then the Archbishop sent a representative here to welcome me in this role as parish priest. So Bishop Umbers came as the Archbishop's representative. And what sometimes happens, shortly after, when the Archbishop's able to, he makes a visit as well, to continue to show that sign of that fraternal relationship and that connection. We aren't isolated from a bigger church. We are connected and we are friends. And this has come straight out of what we see in the Acts of the Apostles in our reading today. These are practical things we know, we see, we've experienced, because this is what we see in the Acts of the Apostles. Community gathers together as we hear in Jerusalem. They send Paul and Barnabas back. They send a letter of encouragement and they send a representative. And then things went on quite well for many, many hundreds of years in the growth and the thriving of the church that was started by Paul in Antioch and in other places. Let's be inspired by the Acts of the Apostles to be missionaries today and to see the structures of the church today are very much based upon those early Christian communities, inspiring us to be friends with each other, a community, a family, living the way of the friendship of Jesus Christ.